to manage your employees and build a strong team. How to manage your employees and build a strong team. How to manage your employees and build a strong team. I will say this, that the definition of a team is a group of individuals who clearly know what is expected of them, both individually and as a whole. They know exactly the objective and have a common goal while working individuals. Because you see, don't forget that as a group, we will have to work as a team, but we are individuals. And so the effort we put together as individuals enables us to perform as a team. So it is important to re-emphasize that the group, they know the objective and have a common goal while working interdependently. I cannot re-emphasize this. It is so important that you can get the most of your employees by learning how best to manage them. If you don't know how best to manage your team, you will have the best team, but trust me, you will have little or no use of them. One of the things you are going to learn in this class is that great leaders need to make people function in a collaborative fashion. It is always important. You must let your team, maybe some of you are in this class who doesn't run organizations, or some of you are in this class who doesn't actually lead organization, but you lead your siblings or you run a home. It is important to make people function in a collaborative fashion. This can be quite challenging, I understand, especially when you have so many different personalities to manage, especially those of you who run big organizations or small organizations. You know, what you need to do is that you need to mold them to think as a team. That's why today somebody asked a question. I think Sharon also asked a question in class. And I said that if your team are not performing the way it is expected, then there is a question of leadership, because the responsibility of a leader in a team is to ensure that you mold your team to think as a team and motivate them to exceed the level of performance they normally will have underperformed under another manager. And so the fact that we met our goal last month does not mean that this month we should meet our goal. We should exceed our goal. And it is the responsibility of the leader to ensure that you bring the team to a place where they will understand the need to excel that goal. Very important. Very, very, very important. So in this class, what I am going to present to you, or this class is going to give you, is to give you the necessary tools to build strong and motivated individuals who will tend to work as a great team. And again, putting these tools into effect will not only benefit a department that you run, but it will benefit your entire organization. Very, very, very important. So, steps or shape the individual and build a team in 5 steps. So I'm going to share 5 steps by which we will build a solid team. And again, back to the question that Sharon asked this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are on the map. I had suggested to her that by the time you go through this course, and as you present these steps to your employees, you will come to a space where you will understand that by enforcing these tidbits, your team will have a very solid team to show performance. And so without wasting much time, I will dive into this deep presentation. And whilst we are looking at these 5 steps, because I am actually going to break the steps into very detailed discussion around them. And each step, I am at least going to present to you nothing less than 10 bullet points that will help you in each step to ensure that you effectively manage your team and get the best out of them. So I will encourage you to fasten your seatbelt, get ready, and we will zoom straight into the how do you call it, the presentation. So let's go. So the first step is to create and develop a strong team. I hope everyone is paying attention. The first step is to create and develop a strong team. How do we do that? You need to create a team atmosphere within your department or your organization with a sense of mission. So if you are a leader, if you are the manager, if you are the departmental head, if you are a professor, if you are organizational lead, if you are the sales manager, if you are the marketing manager, if you are the husband, if you are the wife, depending on which organization you are leading, your job is to create an atmosphere with a sense of a mission of a teamwork. You need to share your vision of what the organization can be so they can have a common purpose. I have seen organizations where, interestingly enough, the vision is in the head of the leader. Team members come to work and they don't really understand the vision of the organization. If you don't understand the vision of the organization, then you are ready to fail, because they will not be in a position to champion what you expect them to do. So to get a group of individuals to think as one positive team, they also have to see a positive good. They also have to see you as a positive, good-spirited, and motivated hard worker. I cannot emphasize this enough. Your team becomes successful depending on what they see in you. If they see a team-spirited person, trust me, they will act as such. And so, these bullet points that I have put here, we are going to look at how each one of them will contribute towards building and creating and developing a strong team. 1, make sure the team is set and ready to go. You see, you need to first make sure you have plan, organize, and structure your department or your institution. Most of us run our own organizations, or you are inspired by a vision. And so for that reason, you set up something, but you have not actually planned, you have not actually organized, you have not actually structured your department in such a way that you will be able to get the maximum potential of your team. You see, we talk at length about organizing and structures, but the next class, we are going to focus deeper into organizing and structures because it helps you as an organization to be able to effectively work with your entire group and your entire team. Let me also say that you need to create 1 or 2 paragraph mission statement. Now, if I ask you right now, all of you here on the platform, can you verbatim quote your organizational mission or vision? I guarantee you most of you will not. Some may, but not all. You may even be the founder and the executive director of the organization, but you still don't even remember the mission and the vision of your organization because you cannot verbatimly quote it. That is a problem because this should be sent out and posted on the walls of your organizations. Anybody who walks into your department or into your organization should clearly have a better understanding of what the mission and the vision statement is. By so doing, it reminds everyone around you about the organizational values. When we say mission statement, we are not talking about some corny posters in the wall just to make the organization look like fancy. No, that nobody can even read it. That's not what I'm talking about. This is what you want your department to be known for. So what do you want your organization to be known for? You know, the way you want your organization to be known for, that is how you will put the mission statement. Because if you want your organization to be known as an organization with an integrity, then get to know that you have to make sure that the mission and the vision of the organization is very well articulated there. Number 3, you also need to create 1 or 2 mission statements. Now, the reason why it appears that I have repeated that slide is because I wanted to make sure you understand that there is an importance of having a mission and a vision statement right there. When somebody walks into your door, they should immediately know the mission and the vision of the organization. At home, those of you who probably runs your home, people should know the mission and the vision of your home. It is very important. So that way, the agenda is drawn very, very well and clearly drawn. Because if your organization provides services, it is your responsibility to ensure that when people walk through the door, they know that this is a service-based organization. Point number 4, periodically walk around the department or walk around the organization. You see, most of us, because we are the boss, we come to work whatever time we choose to come. And when we come to work, we sit by our table and by our desks and we begin to work. We don't even formulate a relationship within our department. And so it becomes a challenge where we are unable to engage. Now, let me take this. Let me say that take the time to sit down with your team. It is important. I mentioned that the last time. Take time to sit down with your team. Have a small impromptu meeting with 1 or 2 individuals to discuss the success of yesterday, to talk about the challenges of the past, and see what ideas these individuals will come with. Walk into the meeting with a notebook, clearly showing that you are documenting their ideas. Most of us, what we do is that we just call a meeting and sit down and we cross our legs and relax and just listening without even paying attention, without taking notes, without getting involved. And so that you may be meeting with your team, but the fact of the matter is that they don't even consider you to be serious, because you see, in as much as our God grants our brains with a heavy machinery capacity, we are humans. And so it is also expected that we take notes to refresh our memories. And so one of the tidbits you walk away with in class is that periodically walk and start talking with your team, engage them, just have fun, just chat, have impromptu meetings. By so doing, the team knows that you carry the vision just as they do. And it's also important to not only walk around the department, but also make sure you hold team meetings. Make sure you hold team meetings, because some of us, we don't even hold any meetings. We can come, a whole week will end and there's not a single meeting held. For example, I will encourage every one of you to hold weekly meetings to go over the goals and the shared visions and the direction of the team. By so doing, the team knows that somebody is watching their back, somebody is paying attention to them. Now, if you run an organization and you don't hold periodic meetings with your team, when there is time for you to reach out and to demand documentation or demand some work, you find yourself having a lot of challenges because you don't periodically do these things. And so your team members have become lazy and they don't provide you the desired results. So it's very important that we pay attention to this. Now, also make sure everyone is fully trained and has what they need. If you want to be successful with your group, you are not the only one to come to master class. In future, when you see a master class announcement going around, let your entire team members apply as well, because they may be selected. That knowledge, that acquisition of knowledge does not make you super over them, but you will all be able to work and implementing the goals at the same time. So now let's say, for instance, 3 or 4 individuals in this class belong to the same organization. Now, when they go back to work, now, do you expect the boss to re-coach them? No. All he's going to remind them, hey, remember point number 4 at the leadership class. I want you to go ahead and implement that. By so doing, you have the opportunity to lessen your work, and then your team members will have acquired skills and knowledge. Point number 7, teach them how to work as a team. As a leader, it is your responsibility to teach your team how to work as a team. Talk to your employees about how important it is that they are supposed to support each other to work as a team. And by so doing, it brings absolute respect among them. Team members need to rely on other team members to accomplish a task or a goal. And so, if, for instance, the finance department needs to work with procurement department to get things done, and imagine the 2 bosses there are fighting. Do you know the problem? The problem is that when the procurement folks brings the invoice, the finance team will not release the funds. Now, who suffers? Is it the manager or the organization? Obviously, the organization is the one going to suffer and not the manager or those individuals who cannot manage their differences, but the organization. And so I want to bring it to your attention that it is your responsibility as a manager or as a leader to ensure that your team understand the importance of teamwork. They will listen to you as their manager, and more importantly, especially in the aspect of your leadership, because by so doing, you are showing them what it takes to be a leader. Point number 8, show how the goals of the team can tie into the organizational goal. You see, the fact of the matter is that you cannot have the vision and the goal isolated. Every group needs to understand that in order for a core mission to be achieved, the organizational goal must be tied into the overall goal of the organization. So, for instance, you are working on a project, but the project, even though it's an independent project, it is a subset of the organizational project. At the end of the day, your goal is to provide the organizational overall goal, the opportunity to showcase that there was indeed a team collaboration. Very important. Now, it's also important to make their opinion count and always follow up. Most of us leading organizations or running institutions or heading departments, we think we know too much. I went to school, I acquired a degree, I studied a thing. You must listen to me because I know exactly what I'm telling you. All right, so we are on point number 9. Point number 9. Always ensure that you make their opinions count. I cannot re-emphasize this because if you do not make the opinions count, the problem you are going to have is that they will assume that they are just talking. And by just talking, their opinion doesn't matter. Now, if someone brings a training idea or talk to you about, furthering their career or trying to go to a master class program or wanted to do something or even confide in you about some improvement that can be made, as a leader, it is your responsibility to ensure that that individual feels heard. Very, very important. That individual must feel heard. And so if you don't do that, the problem you are going to have is that you will not be in a position to, as it were, work with them as a team to achieve the desired goal. You must also support the differing strength of your teammates. Allow each person to bring their unique qualities to the table, whether you like it or not. Knowledge does not rest in one. All of us as a team, it doesn't matter the rank and the file. We all carry unique talents and skill set. And so as a leader, it is your responsibility to ensure that all of your team members' strengths are identified. It is so important. So because by so doing, there can be some new and innovative techniques that can be put in the process by engaging them. More importantly, sometimes it is important to let the team decide. I have seen or have been in meetings where unfortunately, it is only the manager who decides everything. Sometimes it's okay to just sit back, relax, and then allow your team to make the decision. You see, when you encourage the team to come up with an improvement or existing processes, ideas on troubleshootings, equipment that needs to be done, it helps them feel that they are part and parcel of the team. And remember what I mentioned, as I said earlier on, the only way by which you are able to effectively build a strong team is to sometimes allow the team to make the decisions. There are a few times that Professor Nyari will tell you, I will come to him and I say, I know the thing rests on my shoulder, but I sincerely want to allow the team to make the decision. Not that I can't make that difficult decisions, but sometimes it brings inspiration to your team. If you are building a strong and a solid team, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes allow the team to make the decision. And also make sure your team members are not afraid to speak up. Oh, I cannot emphasize this enough. If your team members feel they cannot speak, they will never be honest with you. They will always tell you, oh yeah, it is true. Oh yeah, I agree with you. You are right. Oh yes, I think so. Yeah. And guess what? They will not be honest with you. Just saying we need to work as a team and leave it there, that's very little and sound like, a corny clinch. You need to give clear details of how you run the organization. And by so doing, you allow your team members to speak. When they speak on authority because they are confident that they will not be misjudged. They are confident that their boss will not pick them on. And sometimes they will tell you the things you don't want to hear. It is okay. That is why you are a leader. That is why they are not. Because you need to hear the truth. The truth hurts. The truth is hard. But everybody wants the truth. But just a handful of folks are able to accept the truth. If you know you are not in a position to accept the truth, then I will encourage you to enhance your leadership skills again. Because if no one speaks up or contributes anything during a meeting, there are potential ideas that will not be shared. And even worse, there may be problems that are not identified. And it is so important to re-emphasize that all of you should work so hard with your team members to ensure that you give them opportunity to speak. Point number 13, make sure everyone understands what is expected. Again, a team, I cannot emphasize this much, that as a leader, it is your responsibility to ensure that everyone in the team, understands and knows what is expected of them. Because you see, it is so important that your team have the same vision. So the direction will be focused. And so once we are moving into one place, all of us are moving just to that place. Because just saying that we need to work as a team, like I said, leave very little room for people to understand the vision. You need to give clear details of the expected goals and potential consequences if the goals are not achieved. Clearly define roles and responsibilities for each team member to remain a key. This is the reason is because sometimes it is important for the team to know that if we do not meet our goal for this quarter, there is a likelihood that our funding will be cut. And if we lose funding, then it means that we will either lose you lose your hours or you will lose your job. It is as plain as possible. You know, this in a statement like this, you don't have to be like Ambassador Berg to be diplomatic about it. It is the truth. If our production level goes down, there is likelihood that somebody will lose a job in order for us to be able to maintain the organizational operations and budget. And so that expectation must be clear. There shouldn't be any ambiguity around it, because most of us, sometimes we try to be very diplomatic when people are not performing the way we expect them to perform. We need to be very clear. I was chatting with a friend 2 days ago, and I said to the friend, firing is part of leadership strategies. Quitting is also part of a strategy for employee. So use them as and when they are appropriate, and use them to your advantage. Now, the next point here is point number 14. Demand the needed attention to details. Demand the needed attention to details. You know, there are some who cannot pay attention to details. And if you are a leader, you must demand details. I mean, you know, you don't just take things in the face value. You must make sure you demand details. Express the importance to become a world-class organization by striving for perfection. So your organization want to be known as the best organization within the community. For instance, there are a lot of master classes around. But when we approach our financiers and discussed with them the possibility of setting up this program, because I believe in quality and excellence, we ensure that a consultant was hired so that the model and the content of what we study will be at a certain level of studies. That is what leadership does. Your job is to express and demand the needed attention to detail. Very, very, very important. I mean, I will ask that you pay attention to that at all times when you are dealing with your team. Now, the next point is that you must stress that customer is right, no matter how wrong they are. I remember last week we talked about a question like that. I don't recall who asked that question, but there was a question somebody asked a question about whether the customer is always right. And I said we will go into details in today's class. You see, when you are creating your team, you need to make sure they understand this simple core value. Always tell your staff and yourself that without the customer, there's no company. Why do we run institutions? Why do we form organizations? To solve a need. And to solve a need, now once you ensure that your team understands the importance of ensuring that they have that mindset that without the customer, there is no payment or there's no bill, and then they will understand the significance of why we say the customer is always right. It doesn't mean that what the customer is saying is right, but teamwork is a bit harder, you know, and so to do that, you always have to come to that space of understanding and appreciating the fact that we work as a team to understand that the customer is always right. So what we do with the customer is to empathize, is to encourage, and to ensure that we handle the customer with care so that our bills can be paid. Point number 16. Try to curb any negativity about customers or other departmental members. It is very important. A customer may walk in and become rude and say all manner of things that you never anticipated. But let me tell you this. It is so important that you pay attention to ensure that anything that the customer does should be handled right there, because it's so easy to complain, criticize, and always find fault in customers or people in your department. See, a prime example is how a customer service is always bashing salespeople. But it is also important for you to ensure that you do not allow negative talk about your customers or about other folks in your department or at your workplace. Let me also say that they should act as if a camera is filming them all the time. In order to have a solid team, they should always act as if the camera is filming them at all times. Because they know that when the camera is watching them, you will review it. Somebody will review it. And that can create a problem, a bigger problem for such people. So it is so important that you have them pretend a camera is filming their actions when working. They will find themselves treating the customer like gold or precisely producing a product. This little tip will always keep them in check. If you like, try it. Even put a fake camera on top of where your team are, and just tell them that everything done here is being recorded. Those who work on the phone, as soon as they know that the phone records your conversation, no matter how they are treated by customers, they are able to put themselves in check because they know they are being watched. Now, the next thing that we also need to look at here is they should act like they are ambassadors to the company. What do ambassadors do? They represent nations. They represent ideas. They represent organizations. Your team members should become the face of your organization. If an employee and the team feels like they are truly representative of the organization, it reflects in their actions. It reflects in their attitude. It reflects the time they come to work. It reflects the time they leave work. As ambassadors, they should feel like they are true part of the success story in the growth of the organization. So if you are building a team, once again, I will ask that you work diligently to ensure that the team members work together and believe in themselves as ambassadors. And the last slide on this show is that team building is not a one-time activity. I cannot emphasize it enough. Team building is not a one-time activity. Today you did so, and so immediately you expected that because it's a one-time activity, you should be good. No, it doesn't operate that way. Be prepared to continually work on improvements, ideas, functions, and just calling a group of people a team does not necessarily mean that they are working in harmony as a team. No, I've seen leaders do this a lot. They'll come, oh yeah, I have a strong team, I have a solid team, but a whole week passed, you never even had a meeting with the team. What kind of solid team are you referring to? A whole week passed and you have not even greeted one of them. What kind of solid team are you talking of? A week passed and you never received a report, a project report from a group or a team, what kind of how do you call it? What kind of a team are you referring to in this instance? So it is also always important to understand that if you want to work as a team, you must engage them. So looking at steps to motivate professionally and with respect. Listen, to motivate, you need to be positive, honest, encouraging, and direct. If you are not taking anything at all from this class, let me say this to you. If you are not taking anything at all from this class, please, to motivate your team, you need to be positive, you need to be honest, you need to be encouraging, and you need to be direct to your team. Take note, because this will come in the week 2 quiz as well. To be honest, motivation starts at home. If you are truly motivated, it is easier to spread the enthusiasm to others. Share your vision and mission with confidence. Your attitude, the way you handle yourself around others, the way you talk to each individual will subconsciously build morale. Do not come across work stressed out and miserable, and yet expected your team and your organization to be happy and enthusiastic. I cannot emphasize this enough, team. The fact of the matter is that if you are coming to work, then you must come to work energized. If you are not feeling well, don't even come to work. Because if you come to work, the expectation is that you must bring some high level of energy. If you show up stressed, none of your team members will come to you because they could see the writings on the wall. And if they see the writings on the wall, then you are likely not going to get the best out of them. You know, some people work hard and do good work for pay and recognitions. We should need to keep that in mind. It is your job to give them both monetary increase and praise them as and when necessary. Some also are lazy and do bad work. As a leader, I must tell you, yet they still expect a good pay. It is your job to motivate them and to show them where they need improvement. Because if you don't show them where they need improvement, trust me, you will not be in a good position to be able to utilize their strength to build the organization. I recall when I was doing my MBA, my capstone was on motivation, the impact, performance on organization. And I can tell you that people are motivated by different factors. And so some are motivated by the actual work they do. Some are motivated by the paycheck they take home. Some are motivated by the work environment. Some are motivated by the help that their managers or their leaders show them or give them. And some are also motivated when they have independence to operate. As a leader, it is your responsibility to recognize that which motivates your team member. So let's look at some solid points that will help us to motivate professionally and at the same time show respect to our team folks. One, you ought to be a solid leader. Take note, you ought to be a solid leader. Be the person who can make decisions, solve problems, has an open door policy, knows how to delegate, and provide regular feedbacks. People are motivated when they trust their leaders. So if you are a leader and people doesn't seem to be motivated at your workplace, the question you need to ask yourself, are you exhibiting the things that I talked about? Are you providing a solid leadership? Are you able to make decisions that are strong and difficult? If you are not, then you are not leading. The second point is that you must give clear instructions, and this came up at our first week classes. A person or a team are more motivated to do the job when they know exactly what is expected of them. No one likes to be given daily tasks or a project with little or no direction. I won't do it. No one does that. Everybody wants to have a clear instruction. People are motivated when they know the exact goal to reach both individually and as a team. And so as a leader, it is also part of your responsibilities to ensure that you give clear instructions. Point number 3, show how much you value everyone in your department. Show how much you value everyone in your team. This especially holds true for good workers. Quite often, you should take them aside and truly communicate to them your appreciation. Sometimes it is just appropriate as a manager, as a leader, as the one leading the organization, to call somebody who did something exceptionally well aside and say, hey, I really, really, really want to thank you for this. Or sometimes cross the street with that individual and just go have lunch, and express how much you value that contribution. It helps people professionally and respectfully motivated. Again, help people to grow. Always try to help people grow their skills and develop their career through training by providing opportunities and spreading the word through upper management. So let's say there are others who are within your department, but they are doing so exceptionally well. There is absolutely nothing wrong for you to recommend them to upper management. I think this person qualifies to become a supervisor. I think this person qualifies to be a departmental head. I believe that this person needs to be encouraged. Or you think that, this person, I think he deserves to travel to this country or this region to take that course because his skill set, it will help him or her to improve. Now, it is very important that we pay attention because by helping your employees learn to grow, you will have more people in which you can delegate tasks to. And so when I read on the platform that leaders are saying that, well, sometimes, we don't have people to even delegate to, it is because you have not actually invested in their growth. Because when somebody goes out to take a course and comes back, the expectation is that that person have acquired skills and knowledge. And so we want to put that into use. So you elevate the person. Why do we leave our work and go to school to get an MBA, to get a PhD, to get a professional degree? Why are you taking a master class? To add value to yourself. So that value you are adding to yourself must be useful at the organizational places. So keep that in mind. And then we must also encourage your employees to recognize each other for great work. Encourage each other for great work. Whenever employee does great work, go the extra mile or bring in the team for them to recognize. You know, at my office, this is what I do. When somebody exceptionally did something, maybe somebody traveled to many countries, resolved conflicts, or brought an innovative idea or skills, what do? You know, unknowing to this individual, all of a sudden I have a little bell. I start ringing the bell to bring everybody attention to the office. I say, everyone, can you, all of you meet me at the conference room? Well, again, this is before COVID. Everyone, can you meet me at the conference room? Now we all get to the conference room. And I say, hey, I want to take this moment to congratulate and recognize A, B, or C for an exceptional work. And so I just want each one of you to go around to appreciate the work that he did. It brings inspiration. It brings motivation. You feel like you are part and parcel of a team. You feel there is a reward in what you gave. And that is one of the things you need to walk away with from this class, by making sure that the team, you are not the only one to recognize them, but the entire team recognize when somebody does a good job. We also need to motivate by building their confidence. Motivate by building their confidence. Motivate by building their confidence. Why? Because this should be done both individually and also as a team. When people feel good about themselves, they will work so hard to bring their skill set to the entire group. So we need to come to that place to ensure that people build self-confidence. And by building confidence in them, you have to learn how to inspire them. You have to learn how to motivate them. Even if you have to make correction and improvement, you do it in a loving manner that the individual still feel inspired, that the individual feels that their effort and their participation was viewed as part of the overall process. You don't just walk in and say, man, you did a very poor job. You kill the confidence in that person. Then why did you hire the person? Why is the person working with you as a team? Then the person doesn't need to be there. So keep that in mind. We also need to motivate the already confident by listening and discussing their triumph. By so doing, the already inspired person, you showing the person that you are listening and you are paying attention, helps that person as well to build inner confidence by taking initiatives and starting different projects. We must show the team that you truly care. You must show your team that you truly care. And how do you show your team that you truly care? You show concern and understanding for your employees as signs of management strength and not weakness. You see, once you see your team as a strength, then you let them feed off your positive and caring approach. Because what strong leaders show, they care by getting the team what they need to succeed. So if there are things within the organization that will help your team to succeed, provide them to them. Once you provide it, it creates confidence. And it also shows that you truly care about them. Stress their importance to the company. If you happen to be in a management meeting or you are at the senior level of the organization, it is always important to stress the importance of your team to senior management. Let them recognize that without A or B or C, we will have some deficiency. And so this person's value is important, and we need to appreciate and recognize that. It is also important to mention that we need to create more interesting and admirable job titles. Somebody is working so hard. You know, let's find some work. Let's say, for instance, you have a title like a specialist. You know, let's just call it technical support specialist. That person feel the title alone. Sometimes, like I said, people are motivated differently. You may think that the person need money, but the point, you know, the person doesn't even care about money, even though money is important. The person cares much about titles. So give that person some fancy title that merits what the person does. You know, so something like a technical support specialist sounds a little more important than technical support representative. You know, back in Africa, you know, I recall we used to say watchman, housemates. Now it has been, you know, redefined to be security officer or to be a nanny. Something that will make meaningful to the people and bring confidence in them is important. Now, do not rule by intimidation. We said this again last week, that as a leader, do not rule by intimidation. Only short-term gain is usually achieved with this approach, and a higher rate of attrition usually occurs when we rule by intimidation. And so, like Yudwa said, if you come to the floor and everybody become intimidated, you lose all your employees, because instead of seeing strength in your presence, they feel intimidated. Why should they feel intimidated? We are working as a team, and so they shouldn't feel intimidated at all. So it's very important to keep that in perspective. Now, don't raise your voice. Sometimes it is sad that you see leaders and managers who are running organizations and institutions, and when they are talking to individuals privately or on a coaching basis, you will see them yelling and raising their voice. You don't have to raise your voice. Why? Because people show their errors and mistakes in a calm and a professional way. If you want to scream, be careful how you scream, because once you are calm and you create an environment of listening, people will tell you where they went wrong, and it will rather foster the strength of the group. Now, the next point is, don't penalize them for doing their best. It is also important that you don't penalize people for doing their best. Sometimes their best may not be the expectation or the expected result, but don't penalize people because they tried their best. If they do not try at all, then you have a room or you have a course. Focus on their strength and try to work around their weakness. Everybody has a weakness. I have my weakness, you have your weakness. Dr. Bird has a weakness. Professor Nyari has a weakness. William has a weakness. Everybody has a weakness. But if we focus on our strength and work around our weaknesses, we will be successful. And again, we must we must really motivate your favorites. Oh yeah, in every work, they are favorites. And so you must motivate them, call them aside, go against conventionals and have one-on-one meetings with them, inspire them, because you are actually instilling in them leadership, preparing them to take over a role. And so those who are favorite, and how does one become a favorite? When the person becomes favorite, only if they are doing exceptional work. And by so doing, you must bring that inspiration to them. Continually train and keep your department up to speed. Every time, work hard to bring training, bring them up to speed. There's new technology, bring the new technology to them. There's new training model, let them take the course, because in the end, it brings you good opportunity. Make the environment for employees as nice as possible. You know, the environment in which your employees are expected to work should be clean and ethically pleasing for them to work. Sometimes some people, even at our workplace, it is so sad that the place looks so messy that employees themselves don't even want to come. The bathrooms are poorly cleaned. There's no running water. There's, you know, basic things like coffee. It's missing. When you miss some of these things, you create a very difficult work environment for your employees. And I want to encourage everyone to make sure that you put in efforts to ensure that your work environment is as clean as possible for everyone. Motivate the good workers by disciplining the bad ones. If you do not discipline the bad ones, the good ones will be lost because they feel that nobody seems to care about them, and all we care about is the bad ones, and they will not even show up in time. And as a leader, you will not even address it. You will not be firm to let them know that it is wrong for others to report to work at 8:30 and others will come at 9, and it is okay. It is not okay. We need to come to that understanding and appreciation. It's very, very important. Now, the next point here is we must also ensure that you make your positive attitude seen. As a leader, your positive attitude must be seen. It's so crucial, so important that you allow your positive attitude to be seen. And again, don't let them burn out. If you're a leader, don't let your team burn out. Work with them, inspire them, let them feel you are standing with them. You are seeing the challenges that they are going through and reassuring them, bringing them to what it takes to help them become more effective and more efficient. It's very important. And I can also emphasize that always try to have some fun. You know, as a leader, you should be able to create fun at your workplace at all times. We talked about it last week as well. Create fun, but don't be complacent. Make sure the fun you create is appropriate one that would not affect your relationship with them, but instead will increase and enhance. You know, sometimes you come to work on your way, you know, you grab Dunkin' Donuts, you get some bagels, or you get some pizza, and bring to the team. You know, some small money, you are able to get them, and people feel good when they feel that somebody is thinking about them. And you must also, you know, the management team cook barbecues. If you live in the US or if you live in some part of Africa where you enjoy barbecues, why not? Let's meet at a team and let the CEO or the boss of the organization be seen doing the grilling. It brings inspiration. It brings motivation. It helps the team understand that they are working together. It's very important. People like to be recognized and crave praise for doing good work. And so I want to remind all of you, as people crave praise but do not always like to give, we must make sure that we recognize great work at all times. First, don't hesitate to acknowledge good things. It is very important. Whenever there is an event such as working on a project, you know, complicated issues, working on goals, achieving something, don't hesitate to acknowledge the good things that the teams have done. When they do something as little as somebody walk in and brought you a bottle of water, recognize it. When you are doing morning huddles, say it. Oh, Nicole brought me a bottle of water and I'm grateful. You will never understand until the person comes to tell you how appreciative they were for you to recognize them. And as a leader, you must learn to praise in public. Praise in public. Not only will a person or a team feel good that you praise them, their peers and other departments will also see it. It is also contagious. The more you praise, the more you will receive praises from other people as well. So it is so important that, yes, in as much as sometimes we want to appreciate and recognize and praise people privately, it is good to praise in public. And don't publicly praise an individual on a team-related effort. Never do it. So pay attention, because this will possibly show up in the quiz. Don't praise an individual on team-related effort. When a team does something, don't actually isolate one person and praise him over the team effort. Always make sure that the team effort is recognized and not the individual when there is a need. Of course, there are moments where you have to praise individuals for their good work, but never praise them on the basis where their effort is dependent on a team effort. Very important. Managers and leaders does that a lot. What they usually do is that when there is an opportunity, then they start taking the praise and start talking big about all the great things that they have done, but forgetting completely that their effort is dependent on the team. So we must always keep that at the back of our mind. Post results on the wall in the big letters and in the clear view of everyone to see. When people, some organizations will have employee of the month, will have winners of the week, that and that and that. It is so important that we pay attention to those details. By so doing, we are helping the entire team to appreciate and recognize that the success depends on others and not them alone. It is also important to realize that you must work so hard to make it publicly known when there is something positive to share about. Because if an employee has done extremely well, let it be known. Let your team come to a place of understanding that we are actually sharing and enjoying the success together. And then also create a story I've talked about create a story on the wall already. So it's also important to create a storyboard on the wall to show motivational achievements. So let's say this week we have A person who did this, you have B person who did this. Let's showcase the work. Let's showcase the work that they did. And by so doing, we are able to bring inspiration. Sometimes when you go to some departmental stores, you will see employee of the week, you will see manager of the month posted there, not for showcase, but it brings inspiration and also brings motivation to the team that you are leading. And so pay attention to that. It is so crucial and so important. Now, I must also say this: recognize and praise quickly. Recognize and praise quickly. If you wait too long to tell someone about a recognizable event, it will lose its effectiveness. As a leader, you must work hard to make sure when somebody needs to be praised, you praise the person immediately. Give praise, recognitions, and positive feedback on what means the most to the individual and the team. So if you have a team and an individual, you must be in the position where you are willing to actually give them that recognition and praise them when they need be. Now, also, admiration of a person's skills is a show of respect and recognition. Admiration of a person's skill is a show of respect and recognition. Sometimes the most important ways to recognize good work is to be through our way in the employees' performance. Once we are able to get them to recognize the performance, it also brings some level of respect and recognition to that individual. Go into details regarding the recognition. Don't just say, well, he did well. No, go into details. Let them know that this person went above and beyond in getting us what we got. Remember, everything we achieve is for the team, but it takes individual to be successful in order for the organization to be successful. Write a letter, forward emails, and write the emails yourself. Proof of a written compliment is a very powerful. Don't just go to Google and download something and change name and write it from your heart to the individual, appreciating what you believe in and the hard work. It is very important. And then it is also important, to have someone at the upper management level to take time to recognize these individuals. If you are working in a department, it is very important. Keep that in mind, that at all times, we should make sure that those even at the highest level knows how to recognize our team. Our last but one slide, which is point number 4. And again, because of time, we will be running a little faster than usual. Now, let me say this, that in order for you to evaluate and appraise performance, evaluations by keeping a written record to support pay increase. Look, like I said to you the last time, as people are recognized, you need to understand what motivates them. If it is pay increase, support it with documentation. Let them get a copy of the performance review for them to see the areas that they did so well. By so doing, we are able to work diligently to keep the team together. Now, 2, in most cases, evaluation has a set of core job objectives and corporate values. Yes, it is important to follow the core objectives and the organizational values, because the corporate values will determine whether or not the individual actually met the goal. Appraisal, at the very least, let the employees know that someone at work is thinking about their job performance. When people become champions of their department, or they become champions of their organizations, and they are not accountable to anybody. I've been to places where 3, 4, 5 years, and none of the employees have ever been appraised. This cannot happen again. And if you work in such organizations, this should not happen, because the performance of your team needs to be appraised. It is very, very important. Hopefully, because you have managed the department so well, the expectation is that you are mostly going to meet or exceed expectation. However, this does not mean that all walk on water. No, it does not. If you give a score of exceeding expectation, that is 5 over 5, they are truly needed to ensure that people feel that their actual work was well recognized. But at the same time, I must say that be sure your supervision or your supervisor also follows the guidelines. So when you are following the guidelines to appraise people, everybody is subjected to the same guidelines. Not that because you are a leader, you will be evaluated differently. No. In fact, your evaluation will even be much higher than the expected ones because you have knowledge and the skill set than the rest of them. But if you are subjecting yourself to self-appraise, how are you self-appraising yourself? It's very important. Very, very, very important to keep that in perspective. If you expect or anticipate complications with a particular employee performance review, you must make sure you take this person aside and explain the reasons for the review. It is important, I cannot re-emphasize this, that people need to understand the content of their review and why you gave them a certain score. If you give them a bad score, you may have a reason for giving them a bad score, but you must as well make sure that the reasons are meriting the score that you gave them. Very important. Now, again, it is important to know whatever you do, make sure you complete performance appraisal on time. Don't wait till the end of the year when people are expecting a pay raise and then you do it when the time is past due. It affects their performance. They are not able to give their best. They think you don't care. They think it's all about you, and that's the way it runs. Point number 9. It is better to focus on the positive rather than the negative. When you are praising people, when you are checking people's performance, spend your time as a leader to talk more about their performance. Talk more about their efforts and make sure that you find a very nicer way of addressing their weakness. If you do so, you will be in a better shape to provide them the best of what is needed of them. When discussing appraisal, be sure to tailor each one to each person's personality. Like I said, make sure you know who you are dealing with. There are some people, managing them can be difficult, so you know how to approach it. There are some, managing them is easier, know how to deal with them. By so doing, you'll be able to deal with each and every one accordingly. Make an outline of a significant item cover. Make an outline of the significant items to cover. By creating a check sheet of sort, you can be sure to hit the important ideas. So it's always important to note the things that you want to cover with this individual. It's a bit of an act to encourage someone with poor performance. I must tell you that. During an evaluation, you are going to deal with people who are not doing well. And so as a leader, you need to develop that act, the skill of dealing with people who are not doing well and help them to come to the level at which you expect them to be. Point number 13, do not compare the employees to the other. Never in your evaluation with your team, ever compare them to each other. When you do that, you bring discouragement and you weaken their efforts completely. Don't do that. And encourage open communication. Encourage open communication. If you really, 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 really want to see your team do well, you want your employees to always feel comfortable to be able to talk and share any issues or concerns they have. Therefore, they need to work hard to ensure that there is an open communication. Treat each appraisal with the same mindset and professionalism of a job interview. That is exactly what it ought to be. We need to train and treat each appraisal with the same mindset and that professionalism just as you are interviewing someone for an interview. Stay on track and keep it to the specifics. Stay on track and keep it to the specifics. You have to know when to move on to the next subject, when to make a pitch and when to stop the conversation. As a leader, you need to have all those skill sets. Focus on the significance of each success and failures. This should be looked at as if pertain to the company's possible success and failures. The importance you add to each objective, looking at the big picture, adds more impact to the evaluation. And always make sure the employee leaves knowing what is expected of them in the future. It is important when you do appraisal and the people leave without necessarily understanding what is expected of them in the future, then you are not winning the battle. You have to ensure that they have a clear understanding of what is expected of them in future, because they will be appraised again. And then always be sure you did everything you could before terminating an employee based on performance appraisal. Always, before you let somebody go because of performance, make sure you will do everything you can. Encouragement, and everything you can before you resort to that, because that becomes the last resort. All right. So finally, this is our last slide, and then we are done for today. Compensate and reward job well done. Compensate and reward job well done. Always try to pay, always as a leader, try to pay them what they are worth. It helps you sustain and keep your people. Always try to pay them what they are worth. A raise based on employee appraisal and performance review. If you did a performance review, even if it is 1 cent, if it is 50 cents, and that is what you want to add, please do it, because it helps them becomes more proactive and more encouraged. Promotion is also a reward, and so promote people when they are due. Give them, this might seem obvious, but it is one of the best rewards people always look up to, that they got promoted. They became a team lead, they became a coordinator, they became a supervisor. It's very important we focus on that to ensure that we do that. We should also try to have the power to give on the spot raises. Somebody did exceptional work, you say, wow, I'm adding 5 cents to your salary next week. By so doing, you also help them to feel they are part and parcel of this whole work. And then do your research when it comes to requested increase in pay. Don't just rush to increase payment, but do a bit of research so you can give the best as people merit. And then give small gifts, such as movie tickets. Sometimes somebody did something exceptional. Oh, there is a Superman 2, you give the person, or there is a 007-3 coming out. I have some tickets, I want to give that to you. It brings inspiration and motivation to people. Employees of the week parking space, like I said, well, it depends on where you are and how your organization is located. Sometimes you can put employee of the week sticker that this spot, nobody parks there. When a person comes, that is where the person parks. It brings motivation and it brings a good reward for a job well done. Move the person to a better office or desk. Sometimes somebody who did something exceptional is moved from the back bench to the front. By so doing, they feel inspired. Again, remember, every company has different settings. But if this falls within your group, make sure that you bring people to that speed and then let them enjoy themselves. Bonuses for hitting the goal. When you hit your organizational goal, please don't keep the resources to yourself alone. Keep the resources with the entire team. Share the glory and the money that comes with it with your entire team. And then pay time off and unpaid time leave. Sometimes some people cannot even take one day to take their kids to hospitals or go to the market. Please, when there's an opportunity, give them some time off, pay time off, and sometimes even unpaid leave. Somebody need to go somewhere but doesn't have a paid leave. It's okay. You can go, we'll deduct that from your salary. It brings motivation as well to the rest of the team. Awards such as plaques, trophies, certificates, we should learn how to keep these things behind because it also helps us to make our team feel there is something significant or physical in their hands. It brings some greatness to them and they are proud because they can show that to the rest of their family members. Employees point used towards company provided gifts as well. You see, sometimes when people do exceptional things, we should give them points. Just as when you take a quiz, you get a point. The point will be tallied and the overall winner gets something. Today we recognize Enoch Osei because he got 100%. It's a score that we keep, you know. So anybody who does exceptionally well, by the time we get to graduation, we get overall best student. So that is how these things are done. We need to make sure we work very hard so that each and every one is recognized appropriately, and when possible. Annual recognition banquet. When you are organizing events, you know, make sure that you organize events so that all your team members are recognized at parties, workshops, seminars, so they feel they are part and parcel of the organization. Make sure you reward as quickly as the achievement was accomplished. Again, I said this earlier, if you don't reward quickly, it loses its effectiveness. And then match the award with the person. Sometimes when you are awarding people, let them come to the place of recognizing that their award is tied to their personality and the work that they've done for the organization. And that the reward should be complement with the achievement. You don't just reward people for rewarding them. The better the achievement, the greater the reward. It's very important we keep that at the back of our mind. People-centered skills. And this will be our last slide, and then we are done. People-centered skill. And again, I will run very fast on this topic so that we can wrap it up quickly. First, you need to understand that you are dealing with different personalities here. You have those who are considerate. They are usually the nice and they like to think through things. They usually have an optimistic, glass half full point of view. Those people, they are usually agreeable, but might take a bit longer for others to get the work done. So when you are managing people, you need to understand this type of personalities you are dealing with. These folks give a lot of encouragement and praise to get most out of the type of their personalities. You're also looking at the aggressive type of people. When you are managing people, it's very important to understand that the aggressive likes to take control and do things quickly. Just make sure they do not try to take over and control you. Give them room to operate, but make sure they do not control you. Most managers and leaders are controlled by their employees because their employees are that aggressive. And you also have the analyst type of people. Try to always find flaws in the system. They always want to find flaws in the system. Even if you are doing a good job, even if you are leading effectively, they would look at it and analyze it critically and punch a hole. So make sure when you are dealing with such people, you pay attention because they will always play the devil advocate. If you say so, do this, they will say this. If you say do that, They will say that you have people in that category that you will deal with whilst you are managing people in your workplace. The sensitive type too. See, the sensitive takes any type of confrontation too personally. So you approach them to tell them that, well, I don't really like the time you come to work. They will take it personal. You know, they do as they are told, but they do not like making decisions as well. They are usually very nice and pleasant, but their feelings get hurt too easily. If you are a manager or you're a leader and you have a group of people like this, you have to be very careful. Try not to be too direct with this type of personalities, because when you are direct with them, they take it personal. Use an encouraging type of approach when dealing with any person with that class of people. And then you also have the talkative group. The talkative tend to be more feeling oriented and will show more emotions rather than positive or negative. So keep that in mind. That group of people, they have a strong interest about people and are usually social butterfly of the department. They usually like making decisions but want confrontation in just in case. So keep in mind about those people as well as you lead them in your organization. You also have the brainic people. They use knowledge and sarcasm to get what they want. They will try and dance around the basic topic. They will also dance around making any type of decision. Make sure you keep this person on track, as they can lose focus on the task that has been handed to them. So keep in mind. And then the quiet people. The quiet one is very rarely talked at meetings, seem to be low self-esteem, and is continually subconscious of their actions. Not only should you try to bring this person out of their shell, they just might have some brilliant ideas that you will need to incorporate in your organizational decision makings. So keep in mind that you will have people like that. And then you also have the result-driven group. They tend to focus solely on targeted metrics, but sometimes lose focus on the big picture. They feel like they are doing a great job because of a meeting of an important goal. However, they are doing a poor job on another aspect on the job. So results-oriented people are good, but they can also lose opportunities if you don't manage them very well. So it's very, very important that you pay attention to this type of people, because this person is usually more suited for simple, straightforward tasks that do not require thinking outside of the box. Result-oriented people, that's the way they are driven. Then the loner group. The loner group, they want to do their job and not involved with companies, picnic, break rooms, conversations. All they care about is, you give me a job, I want to get it done, and that's it. I don't care whether we want to organize a social function. They don't want to be part of those things. As a leader, you must learn to understand such personalities as well and know how to use and manage their strength towards the achievement of the organizational goal. The overconfident people, they feel like they know everything and can do no wrong. Sometimes they act confident when they don't even know what they are doing. That's their personality. You need to get your point across by being very direct to them. If you are not direct with the overconfident people, trust me, they will not be successful and they will cause you a lot of trouble. Then you also have the comedian group. They think of everyone, but themselves as incompetent and does not take supervision's role at all. And so please keep that in mind, that this group of people as well, when you are dealing with them, you ought to be in a place where you are able to effectively use them, because they tend to be grumpy and sarcastic. And you don't want people who will bring your team down. And then you need the mean-spirited people. I'm sure we all have them in our workplace. The mean-spirited people. They make it known that they are not happy with the work or the people around them. In many cases, it is due to problems that is not even work-related, but they crave an environment where they make it very comfortable for everybody to be with them. Last but not the least, the bad attitude people. You know, this is a major challenge or a major problem. You need to let this person know that their attitude is affecting the morale of the team and it is unacceptable. I'm telling you, if you don't handle it well, the problem you're going to have is that one bad note will spoil all the good ones. Knowing these different types of personalities will greatly help when managing a department and how to handle each person in your team. They will greatly help you in your management and leadership work. And so, folks, I know it's a lot of information that I have shared. That brings me to the end of my presentation for today.